We talked about Brock. We've talked about Kyle. Let's talk about the team as a whole. They were in the Super Bowl again this year. They were leading late multiple times. They didn't close the deal. They were 2-point favorites. A lot of people picked them to win. Which team was better in the Super Bowl? Kansas City or San Francisco?
You know, I hate to say it, it's not which team was better, it's which coach was better.
Mm.
And not to be cruel to Kyle, but the bottom line is, hey, Andy Reid was the better coach that day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Whether it's Mahomes or whether it's Purdy or whether it's Kelsey or whether it's Kittle, no. You got great players on both sides of the field. You have to have a great coach that day to win the game, and Andy Reid was the better coach at that situation, and he found a way to win the game.
It's interesting. A lot of people will look at the Niners or that matchup. I think Kyle will look at it that way. Like, well, we may have had the better team, but they have Patrick Mahomes, and he's an all-time great quarterback. But what you're saying is, on that day, the gap between Mahomes and Purdy was smaller than the gap between Kyle and Andy Reid.
Correct.
Yeah.
And see, to me, I go back to the third quarter because the Niners had a chance after the interception. The destiny for that game and for the future of the rest of that ball game rested in the hands of the Niners offense and the play caller because they had the ball back. They got a turnover. You got to capitalize. You got to find, and you throw in 11 passes and only completing 2 or whatever the stats were. Was he 2 of 9 or 2 of 11?
Something like that.
And he had 3 runs.
Yeah.
And you threw the ball 9 or 11 times and you only ran the ball 3 times in that third quarter. I'm sorry, but from a coach's perspective, when you're ahead and you're not burning clock and you're not exerting your force and your momentum on the opponent, that to me, there's the ball game right there.
Right, you're in control of the game at that time. Correct. You can call the plays that run down the clock, close out the game, as opposed to just calling whatever and asking your quarterback to be special or whatever.
It's time now to play situational football. It's not about the players, and it's not about your Wheaties box tops blue plate specials that you've drawn up for 2 weeks or a week and a half or whatever. That's over. Now the focus is on the game and closing the deal, not displaying your offensive guru passing genius. That's not the game anymore. That was the first half. Now let's get down to basics and play football. What's it going to take to win the ball game? What plays can I repeat that were successful in the first half from a different formation, a different motion, a different shift, but with the same scheme that had gained yards in the first 30 minutes. So I got to have repetition. I may show you it. Okay, how many different ways can you prepare your meatloaf? How many different ways can you fix chicken? Well, we're having chicken, but now I'm going to have 4 or 5 different recipes for chicken. The same thing with running a play. I have different ways to show it, different ways to disguise it, to distract the defense with different personnel groupings. But hey, we're still getting you chicken.
What killed me about the final play of the season for the Niners on offense, if you remember it was 3rd and 4 from the 9 in overtime, the Chiefs 9, and they went empty backfield, Christian McCaffrey in jet sweep motion, play action to Christian. It's like, I don't think they'd ever run that play ever. So with the season on the line, they didn't go chicken. They went like duck or something very exotic that they hadn't eaten ever and they couldn't digest it. It was very strange. So I want to ask you a question. You mentioned Andy Reid. He's the best. Or would you agree that he's the best? What sets him apart from Kyle in your eyes?
He understands what it takes at the moment to be able to get the game in control or to win it. And he's able to make the decision, take his ego out of it. Okay. He's not worried about being a genius play caller. See, the thing about today's football, it's a pass happy league. Okay. So you got all these coordinators who want to prove that they have a genius quality. They've got creativity. Your creativity in their mind comes in the passing game, And you can get a guy out of the stands to call a run. So no coach has been called a genius because he can run the football. Otherwise, Chuck Knox would have been a genius a long time ago because ground Chuck. Well, no, it's throwing the ball. And see, as a coordinator, you've got to be able to take yourself out of the game and call the plays to win and not worry about your image, the label they have on you, have some reporter talking about how great you are as a play caller because your creativity is so good. No. You got to be able to win the game. So you got to do whatever it takes to win. You got to run the ball to win. You throw for show and you run to win. I'm sorry, that's the bottom line. Now, Mahomes and the Chiefs even this year improved their run game. I tell you a classic case. 2 years ago, Andy was running a lot of RPOs. Well, Mahomes was throwing the ball a lot on the RPOs, sometimes when he should have been handing the ball off. So Andy says, well, wait a minute. You're violating the theory and the concept behind the RPO. So therefore now I'm taking the RPO away from you and I'm calling the run, and it's a give it. It's no longer you looking at a conflicted defender and making the choice of whether you're going to throw the ball or hand it off because you're abusing that concept. So I'm going to take it off the plate and take it away from you so we can run the rock a little bit more. And then bam, this year you look at Pacheco, they had a pretty darn good run game.
It seems to me like since Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback there, Andy Reid's offense has evolved a few times. They used to have Tyreek Hill. Now they're like a 2-3 tight end offense that runs the ball, and they're just starting to add a little bit of speed back to it. I can't say that Kyle Shanahan's offense has evolved. It's been pretty much the same for about 5 years.
Correct. He's got a philosophy, and the great thing about Andy is he has adjusted to the personnel that he has, and he finds a way to utilize his roster and find something. He brings in the third and fourth tight ends, or the second and the third. He takes Kelsey off the field, and then he's still throwing the ball to his backup tight ends, and they're still making plays. So he finds a way to keep them involved in the game, and he finds a way to give Mahomes outlets to other receivers other than, quote unquote, the star power guys whom everybody expects will get the ball anyway.
One thing I find interesting comparing these two coaches, Andy's 20 years older than Kyle, and yet he's the one who's more flexible, more willing to evolve with the times, whereas Kyle's is very dogmatic. This is how my dad did it. This is how I do it. This is how we're going to keep doing it.
The key thing is to be able to adjust. Okay. Yeah. It's like we had, a guy named Marcus Allen, a guy named Bo Jackson. Then we had Roger Craig and Tom Rathman and Eric Dickerson. Hey, you know what? As much as you'd like to throw the ball, and it's really great to see that thing going over the top of the defense all the time. And a quick 6. Hey, our idea of a drive is give me one and done. Okay, I forget the multiple plays. Hey, if we get a shot play on you and we can score in one play, bam. Okay, we're taking it. We're not going to give it up. But sometimes you got to run the ball.
Yeah.
You have to be able to suppress your thoughts and your ideal and your dreams and do what's best for the club.